Welcome, everyone, to the 5-Year Real Estate Career Podcast. Today's topic is close to my heart. I happen to live in a city where new construction is the lifeblood of the city. That happens to be Pensacola. But all across the country, it is amazing how new construction has grown, has become a significant part of the real estate world. As a matter of fact, before we get going on the topic, this is episode 55, by the way, of our 5-Year Career Podcast. And today's topic is all about new construction. But I have some stats that are eye-opening and something that if you're a real estate agent, you really need to master new construction because these are the stats for 2024. In 2024, there were 4.3 million sales in the US. That's down almost 750,000 from the year before. But here's what's interesting. 15% of all the sales in the country in 2023, I apologize, 2024, were new construction sales. That represent approximately 700,000 sales of the 4.3 million were new construction. Now, what's going to happen in 2025? According to the National Association of Realtors and the Home Builders Association, we're going to do maybe 4.3 to 4.6, up a little bit, not dramatic, but this is the important reason to be on today's call. Sales activity in new construction is going to go up 11%. That means you're going to have 750 to 800,000 sales in new construction. So that's why today's call is so critically important for real estate agents who want to make serious income in 2025. And on today's call, we're going to cover a few things, but for many more episodes like what we're doing this today, you can go to our YouTube channel. That's at 5-Year Career, the symbol at 5-Year Career, to get and see all of our other episodes. This is, again, episode 55. A whole year's worth of our life is devoted to help real estate agents make more money, create more leads. And the real key to making money in new construction is leads. So we're going to talk about that and much more on today's call. But did you know one of the greatest benefits of working with new construction is you typically don't have to wait for a commission. Builders today have lots of inventory. That means you're going to get paid within 30 days, typically, of when you sell a new construction product. And you don't have to mess with all the inspections and all of the issues that you have to deal with selling a property that is existing property. Selling new construction, by the way, a second benefit, and not one known by many real estate agents, is that that's the fastest way to get listings. Because typically, if somebody's buying new construction, they have a house that they live in that they have to sell. And that's a good way for a real estate agent to build a relationship and list more real estate. Another thing is, if you specialize in new constructions, it's mostly in your local market. So you're not driving 800 miles to 80 miles probably to sell real estate. You can develop relationships with local builders. It's much more efficient. And the average realtor, you may not know this, but the average realtor really doesn't have a solid game plan for new construction. So one of the things that you're going to get out of today's meeting is a solid game plan. And finally, builders have problems, especially right now. And we're going to talk about just how serious those problems are. But when anyone has a problem, guess what happens? If they've got a problem, there's opportunity associated with that. So let me introduce you to my two co-hosts. And we're going to do a quick introduction today. Patrick Butler, who we call and love Mr. Go Vertical. He's a specialist on many things: foreclosures, bankruptcies, and affinity marketing, which is basically going out to small to mid-sized businesses and getting them to partner with us because we can save their employees money. And next up is Mr. Eric Wilner, the automatic landlord and the guy that owns tons of real estate. And he'll teach you through either his radio show, the longest running radio show in the country called The Real Estate Show. He also has a book that he's written about that, about real estate. And most importantly, he will teach you how to become an educated investor. So, gentlemen, let's get started today. And I'd like to kick it off with you, Eric. Just look, why is it so critical that you build relationships with local builders?
First of all, thanks for that introduction. A funny little story. My wife, she went and she put my name in Chat GPT. Try it sometime. You'll be very amused about what you find when amazing what Chat GPT knows about you.
Yeah, especially if you use it.
What's that?
Especially if you use it. The more you use it, the more they know.
That's true also. That's part of it. So, your question about why start with builders, and you said, it's one of the fastest ways to new listings, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later. But here's the thing, one of the biggest problems that every realtor has, number one, right, is getting not only leads of buyers, but then the inventory, right? Inventory, especially over the last several years, it has been so tight, has been a real challenge. And a concentration of inventory sits right in front of you at the newest development. And you can build a relationship because you know exactly where to go. You know exactly what they want. There's no point in waiting to get started at finding inventory. You can even sort of flip the script. And instead of going out and finding a buyer to go find the inventory, why not specialize in the inventory and then attract the buyers? So first step, I would say, is schedule a face-to-face meeting with every builder in your target market, whether it's local, as you mentioned, or even if it's long distance. Understand their inventory, understand what incentives, what they're willing to do. And remember, right now, builders are willing to do a whole bunch. They don't like to sit on inventory for very long. So they have incentives going on. Sometimes it's with financing, sometimes it's with closing costs, sometimes it's with upgrades and improvements. But they have their hot button that that they want to sell with. Find out what those are, match those with the right clients, and you're going to be talking about two very happy parties in that part of the transaction. Become their go-to agent by being responsive, right? What's the number one complaint out there? Realtors don't pick up their phone. Be knowledgeable. What's the number two complaint out there? Real estate agents don't know what they're doing. And most of all, be proactive. It's a very exciting market, and plus it's a lot of fun being involved with new construction, brand new product and so forth. So that's what I'll say. Build rapid builder relationships, and that is a key to quick results.
So, Patrick, how about local market mastery? Eric talked about it just a little, but could we talk in more detail about it?
So, and I'm going to give a prelude to my segment here. Is I'm actually buying new construction right now, and it's not in my local market. I'm moving however many hundreds of miles away to Panama City Beach, Florida from Fort Lauderdale. And as a new construction buyer myself, I've had to learn my new destination for due diligence purposes, right? So when I went up to Panama City Beach, and it's an active adult community, but I had to figure out the infrastructure, the highways, the airports, restaurants, all these things that are relevant to me. And if I wanted to specialize in that marketplace, I realized I would also have to learn about the schools and all the other things that are important to home buyers that are looking in various areas. But also when we're talking about hyper local, Skip, you mentioned that one of the great things about new construction is it's in your backyard. I would even go so far as to say sometimes you can sell new construction that's not in your own backyard. In fact, where I live in Southeast Florida, there are a lot of people that are uprooting and selling their now costly real estate to move to lower cost areas. And oftentimes new construction is important to them. So if as a real estate professional, you step back a little bit and look at the trends of where people are moving from and moving to, that might be a great hyper local market to get very used to so that you can market it in your own hometown. But it is super important, right? When you think about the needs of home buyers, there could be one new construction development. For example, the one that I'm moving to, well, you have to be 55 or older to move there. So that doesn't help for all of the young upstart home buyers, young families. So understanding inventory, to Eric's point, that meets the needs of certain segments of your market is also super important. And then lastly, if in your own local market, you've got inventory that's new construction that isn't in price points you're familiar with, well, that's interesting too. You may want to bring on a partner. If it's luxury condos and you're not that guy or gal, think about bringing on somebody that can work with you, but your combined knowledge together brings a whole wealth of value. And Eric, yes, you nailed it. Real estate agents are just glorified taxi drivers and door openers. Don't be that real estate agent. Be the one that truly understands what it's going to take to sell that new construction. And it is exciting because, again, I've never been a new construction specialist, but I promise you, when I move to a new construction development that's in the early phases of it, I will in fact take that on. So in my 5-year career, in year number 2.5, that's going to go onto my plate of things to be a specialist in. Back to you, Skip.
Yeah,
You know,
I think
before
every-
Skip, before you go in there, you know, Patrick kind of made a point about somebody in a different specialty, but the same thing with a different location. You could be an agent in Indiana but be known as the expert of selling Florida retirement property or whatever the
Absolutely.
case may be. All you have to do is find a good agent. You know, Skip and I talk all the time about he's up in in Pensacola. I'm down in Fort Lauderdale. And I've got investors that they don't necessarily need to go see the property themselves. They want a good investment. And when you can find a great development that cash flows and so forth, having another geographic partner, another specialty partner, whatever the case may be. But you made a great point there, Patrick, that this is a great way to build a team. And P.S., I could be in Indiana sending people to Florida, and on occasion there'll be people from Florida going to Indiana.
And Eric, I'm going to piggyback on your segment, which was on rapid builder relationship building. I bet if you got really buddy with your local builder in their product, they'll tell you where the majority of the buyers are coming from. Are they local people buying? Do they have tons of people coming from the Northeast? Are they coming from the West or whatever? Once you can get that general information, that's where you pick your partner from. You know, if everybody's coming from California to your new construction, well, work with some California agents out there and help them market that product and everybody
Great
else.
tip.
Those are excellent tips. And I'm going to add one more tip to it too. If you bond well with the agents that are on those projects, they're the first, because you may advertise and find a buyer to take there, but they have buyers coming in all the time that aren't related to you. If it comes in from just a person who isn't attached to a realtor and they have to sell their home before they buy, guess what you might get from that relationship? You might get a listing.
Very
and
good
so
point.
it's just a critical point. Be nice, be real, but be smart and talk to a lot of the people at the builder models, since 15% of all, 16.6% of all the sales in 2025 are going to be new construction. Good decision. Spend some time on that segment of the market. Now I get to talk about digital domination, but that to me is way over my head. So let me just talk to you about what I know, which is CRMs and systems that will help me promote, build. If I have a database of people that I've developed over the past 40 years of my career, I have a large database, so I can target market those people on new construction. If they own real estate and they've owned it for 8, 10, 15, 20 years, these are good candidates for new construction. But you need you can also develop what's called a landing page. It's a way to promote a series of properties, of new construction properties. The way to do it is pretty simple. You go into your CRM, hopefully you have one, and if you don't, you need a good one. You develop a landing page, you tie it to the MLS, which all the builders now have the majority of their properties in the MLS. So if somebody's seeking new construction, they'll click on your landing page, they'll get a ready-made search of properties at certain price ranges, and you'll have an opportunity to connect with them not only on one project, but on maybe 20 different projects that are in my area, the Pensacola area. And so that's a critical part. Also, running social media ads is really smart on new construction. If 15% of the buyers out there are looking for new construction, guess what? You should be targeting that in your social media advertising. And just one other quick point. I think whether you're good looking, bad looking, have tons of wrinkles, whatever your physical presence is, we all need to be doing videos. We need to be doing videos because a 20-year-old may not relate to me, but another 50+ person is going to relate to me. And if I'm shooting videos, if I'm going out to all of these projects, let's say 3 a week, and I shoot a short video, do a quick tour, highlighting many of the features in these developments, and develop a YouTube channel, which I'm in the process of doing now because a lot of people are moving to Pensacola. It's called Retire in Pensacola. A lot of those people are going to be interested in new construction. So shooting videos is really, really important. So Patrick, now that we did all of this, excuse me, Eric, now that we did all of this, how about lead generation? How do we get more and more leads for these new construction customers, the 15%, 16%?
Yeah, and as I started out in, in the previous comment about, the builders and the inventory, on the other side of the coin, you have, where do I find the clients and the customers? And I will tell you that becoming that expert, doing what you just said, all over the social media, it's all really good stuff, and it creates the ability for people to find you. But now I would be even more proactive, and I would host a new construction workshop, right? All the ins and outs, the 7 biggest mistakes people make with new construction, the 10 reasons why you should buy new construction. There's so many different variations that you could have, starting with a new construction 101 webinar with a live online, question and answer. You become known. I mean, when you're at the front of the room or on the screen, you become the de facto expert of that development, or even in that niche, in broadly speaking, new construction. So I also love webinars because same thing with my radio show, is that it's one to many, right? I'm not talking to one and trying to convert one person one at a time, but I can do a broad message, and the people that are ready and interested can raise their hands. And I much rather work with people who raise their hands because they're ready and they're interested. Similar to that is attend local community events and network with potential buyers, people in that price range or people in that community. Whether it's a golf community, where do golfers hang out? Where do they go? Where do they get their information from? Leverage your existing network to get into those networks. And the bottom line is, let everyone know you're specializing in new construction, and then start showing, like you said, use the social media. Hey, I'm visiting. This is an example. Hey, they got an event. I just recently attended for one of the luxury oceanfront condominiums here in my area. They will occasionally have cocktail parties or brunches at their sales office. And it's a great opportunity, again, for you to network with them. And it's funny that you said that about, I was talking to the developer, who's a Canadian developer, and they said that the majority of their clients were coming, guess from where? Canada, right? They're Canadians. So if I were to really want to market that property, why not go market to a Canadian audience? Use Facebook and the other social media to direct me to that Canadian. Publish an ad about my webinar in a local paper in Montreal or Toronto and so forth. So golden nuggets throughout today's episode. And I think it's time to really sit up and notice new construction, because we're in a construction boom across the country right now.
Yeah, very valid point.
So, hey, so Patrick, every lead is a qualified lead. I mean, every time somebody calls me, I know that they're a perfect buyer. Talk to the world about what you do when you get these leads. What does a smart real estate agent do before they start to work with a client?
Let me think about this for a minute. So to answer your question, Skip, no, I don't believe every person that calls in on an ad or attends a webinar or a workshop is ready to buy right now. So as we always discuss in the 5-year career, and specifically when we talk about our home buyer webinar programs, lead with the lender. It's vital that consumers know what their financial picture looks like up front. When we're dealing with new construction, there's potentially 2 angles of attack on this as well. One, oftentimes the developer that's selling the property will have their own in-house mortgage company. Now, we preach having a great mortgage partner. In fact, Eric, you are our mortgage partner in this system, and we love Eric for that. And with new construction, there may be cases where the developer is just offering unbeatable incentives if you go with their lender. Now, that's a tough call with your team, but it may make the difference between making that sale or not. So everybody together each achieves more, which is the definition of team. So understand what the developer's loan products look like. In any case, it's important, vital, to have that customer pre-approved for a mortgage up front. And we talk about this a lot in many of our other episodes, but one, it lets them know, are they ready to go today, or do they have some homework to do before they can be a homeowner? 2, how much do they have to do in order to be a homeowner? Is it just clearing up a few debts? Is it documenting their income? Or do they have a lot of work to do, such as a former bankruptcy or a foreclosure or just bad credit history? These things will all drive what we do with that consumer. And if they're ready to go today, then you can move on to the next step. And if they need a little bit of work, help them, be their advisor, and help them understand how easy it is to get ready to go. Now, what's really important about all of this, though, is that, Skip, I think the answer to your question is actually yes. Is everybody a candidate? And the answer is it depends what we're selling. So before I leave this topic, never forget that every single person that we talk to is an opportunity to enter into a potential corporate account. If they work somewhere, that employer could become a great affinity account for you. So never discount any individual. In fact, sometimes the poor people that have bad credit and aren't really qualified buyers don't get the time of day. They get brushed off by everybody and told to go away, kid, you bother me. But they're important too. And they may just be that perfect person that opens the door to a new corporate client or becomes your next member of your team because they like what you do. They like how you roll. And they may be the perfect person to become the next real estate superstar on your team. So all of those things are important. And that's where building rapport and trust and becoming their lifelong advisor is important. We can't sell them all in one day.
That's
You
it.
know,
That's
and
it.
Patrick, just to your comment about the lender also, you know, when you have the right lender partner, I understand there are times where the builder offers such big incentives that it doesn't make sense for that home buyer to go anywhere else. And a good partner will understand that. You know, you don't get everything.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the important thing about that is that by still being willing to do the support work, to do the pre-qualification if necessary, and see if there's a better opportunity, number one. But number two, a lot of people don't qualify for the builder's lender. And then all of a
Right.
sudden those incentives are off the table. And now you can become a more competitive person. So build your bench deep, and a good lending partner will understand that. So that was a great point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm gonna modify just one part of what you said, Eric. Not to disagree at all, but just my experience in my local market is if a builder can't get them approved, they won't buy down the buyer's interest rate, but they'll still give up 100% of the closing costs because their motivation right now is to liquidate inventory. And so if their lender denies them and I take that person out and to a different lender who approves them, I can count on the builder paying all of the closing costs, even if their lender's not doing it, at least in my local market. And I would expect that to be pretty common across the country today for builders who are having great difficulty moving their inventory.
Well, that goes
So-
back to the being a specialist in your area. So you know that you can still ask for those things. And that's why being an expert or specialist, the go-to person matters so much.
Yep.
Yeah, and I will say this, the wrinkles I have taught me to ask every single time more than what I expect, because you'd be surprised. The more you ask, the easier it is to put a transaction together. And especially in today's world, going through cycles where interest rates were really high, a lot of foreclosures, I've learned that asking never hurts. And many times you'll be surprised with the outcome, the positive outcome of the ask. So we talked earlier about creating customized experiences for the buyers. And that's basically shooting 3 videos a week. Maybe if you're younger, shoot 10 videos a week. But the truth of the matter is, shoot videos at builders' projects, because what that will do for people who don't, I'll ask Patrick this. Patrick, when you decided to look at Northwest Florida, you looked in Panama City, you looked in Pensacola, and you decided the best place for you. But when you went there, you didn't know anything about those areas. So every bit of information, videos that I may shoot about Pensacola, is going to be a learning experience for someone who lives in New York who wants to move to South Florida or to North Florida. So any
you're right
other
on.
comment about that? Because I think it's critical.
Yeah, and I know we've got a lot still to cover in today's episode, but yes, I mean, videos from local experts were very helpful. I watched them on YouTube. I learned about the area as well as what product I was looking to purchase. So it was vital. And you're right, I covered hundreds of miles in a 7-day period of time, physically touring each of those towns and getting a sense for which one made the best fit for my wife and I. So yeah, all of that was vitally important. I treasured it greatly.
Okay, Eric, what about builder incentives? Just speak real quick about that.
Yeah, and you made an excellent lead into that, because there are the incentives that they declare, that they publicize and everything, and then there are the incentives that they kind of keep in their back pocket. To your point, you always ask, hey, if this, can I do that? And sometimes the builder will say absolutely yes. Sometimes the builder will say no, but I'll do this, right?
Absolutely.
And because they have those incentives in their back pocket. So become an expert on builder incentives. And once you start hearing what different incentives are in one development, you can always suggest or request those in another development,
Absolutely.
because now you know it exists. And you are the hero when you're asking these questions that they don't even think about asking. And when you get them these special incentives that they weren't expecting, number one, that I have an old saying that value articulated is value appreciated. And so when you explain those incentives that you got and what the long-term value of those incentives could be, and the extra value that you're getting, especially with new construction, and how that also will help you to retain value over time, you become the go-to person when it comes to this topic.
Yeah, especially if you do videos and promote them aggressively. Patrick, what about follow-up and nurturing? Everybody buys on the first month?
No. So, I mean, everything that's been covered already is, in fact, what should go into your follow-up and nurture campaign. And Skip, you really said it, and it's a good CRM. Having a good software platform that can automate this process is vital, especially if you're doing lots of webinars or marketing that's yielding lots of potential customers. It's impossible to stay in touch with all of them and become their best friend. So choose your candidates that you're going to spend personal time with wisely, but the videos, the new incentives that you're finding out about builders, other builder product, are all great things to include in your nurture and follow-up campaign. Just don't let the leads go cold. All of that work you've done to get them in the front door should be continued. And again, CRM is the answer to that solution.
That's good. And Eric, what about first-time homebuyers? They always have questions, concerns, worries. So closing, talk about that closing process, or getting near that closing process.
Yeah, so as we kind of
points?
follow this track that we've been talking about, where to find the inventory, where to find the clients, how to nurture them, how to convert them from, interested into buyers and qualified buyers into, a contract. And then ultimately, the goal here is to put somebody in their new home. And so all the way along, this is not a set it and forget it type of a deal. You got to be proactive in guiding your buyers. Again, remember, this is, the CRM, the big word there is not the customer, it's the relationship that you manage. And that's why, the software helps you to automate and not let things fall through the cracks, but be proactive in guiding buyers through the contract process, the inspections, if it's new construction, you might be following the construction as it progresses from start, breaking ground, to rooftop and all that other stuff. Anticipate potential roadblocks by being proactive. And the more that you're doing this, the more that you're going to have ready-made solutions for when those roadblocks come up. And the secret is that you won't be able to anticipate everything. And that's normal. Nobody expects you to know everything, but they do expect you to maintain clear and consistent communication, because what we don't want to do is find out these surprises. Hey, you knew about this a long time ago. Why didn't you tell me back then? I could have moved assets around. I could have changed time frames. I could have done all sorts of things. Clear and consistent communication is something that you want to never forget.
Cool. And Patrick, we're going to move. We've had great success in our 90-day blitz, and now we have customers who are happy.
Yep.
Talk about that for a minute.
So, it's funny, the proof is in the pudding, right? And sometimes testimonials might be about what a great person you were as the real estate professional. Oh, my friend Skip, he's so fun. He's a wonderful guy. He doesn't flip golf carts over when we play golf, any of those things. But the testimonial could also be about the new construction project itself. So as you're marketing these things and you get some happy customers, or you love that new construction project because of events that they put on, well, showcase those. Use those as third-party testimonials, meaning not yourself saying it, that show individuals that either you as the real estate professional did a phenomenal job and hear it from your customer's mouth, or that the community that you've been selling is highlighted, whether it's in the news or somebody that just moved in there and they love their new neighbors, they love the fact that there's activities or whatever the case may be. Use those and leverage them to your benefit. Throw them up on social media, all the things that we talked about. Success stories are winners as well.
Yeah, that's a great comment. As we bring this to a close, Eric, when you have a success story, that's called a case study. So how could I use that as a real estate agent in today's world? What would your suggestions be about that?
Well, from a marketing point of view, they're excellent, because people who are brand new to the process, and it could be new to the process in a new area. They've bought houses before, but it's not the same process in New York as it is in California or in Florida. So create quick stories, of how you help clients find their dream homes or navigate a problem that popped up. You see, I forget who said it earlier, it's about the experience, right? It might not be the agent, it might not be the particular construction project or subdivision. Overall, every client, where they're the same, is that they want a really good experience. And so by sharing those experiences, they may be looking in a different area, but they know that you're the right person to give them the best experience.
Good point.
Absolutely. So gentlemen, we have this special way to help any real estate agent in the country get more new construction leads, and we call it our Do It For You webinar program. So let's all speak just a little bit about the great success we've had with agents, both locally here in Pensacola. I moved from South Florida to here. I didn't know a soul here. The only thing I did since I've been here is run golf carts into a sand trap and flip them, and also and injure my shoulder. And that's a side note. But the big picture is I just ran webinars. I didn't know anybody, and I've developed a good nucleus of business entirely off of first-time home buyers and new construction. I just had my second new construction sale. I have two more that I'm about to write up the offers for, and all of those came from webinars. So either of you, just talk a little bit about how webinars can really drive leads, because this business is and will always be about leads. So how do webinars help, guys?
Well, that's easy. Number one, as I mentioned before, it's one to many, right? So this is how I leverage my efforts from one to many. Number two, urgency, right? When you do a webinar, this is what's going on now. This is what's in the inventory that's available now. This is what the trends are. This is what the, time is of the essence. And when you create that sort of sense of urgency, the opportunity, the other thing about new construction, which is actually kind of cool, is that yes, it's inventory, but it's also limited inventory. And
Right.
so, get in now while supplies last, as they say on the commercials. The seminars also allow you to focus, and it allows you to identify the people who are ready and interested, because a lot of people will come to your webinars who are interested, but a few in every webinar will raise their hands and said, listen, I'm ready to move forward. What else can you help me with? Can you contact me? Can I contact you? And that's how you get this ball rolling in 90 days or less.
Yeah. And Patrick, what does do it for you mean?
Well, exactly that, Skip. I'm showing an example of a flyer with the handsome Mr. Skip Wiley himself. What we do for our real estate partners is literally everything. So preparation of the advertising, the conducting of the webinar, the CRM setup, as well as the nurture campaigns are all done for our partners for a ridiculously affordable investment. And that usually comes at the close of escrow. So folks, you're talking about get the money first, then pay a little bit to your partners in profit. We do it all for you. So if you're brand new to the business, you're just restarting, or you're looking to launch a 5-year variation to your existing career, we are here for you. Shoot a picture of that QR code, reach out to us at 5yearcareer.com, and we are more than happy to take you to the next level. Skip, back to you in the studio to wrap this up.
Yeah, our next webinar, by the way, is 4/22, Tuesday, 4/22, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. First time homebuyer presentation. We hope you'll join us because you'll learn just how easy it is to create leads in your local market and how we can make this process very simple. So thanks everybody for being on our call today, the 5-Year Real Estate Career Podcast. We know you enjoyed today's presentation. And if you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe. You can go to our website, which is 5yearcareer.com, or our YouTube channel, which is at 5-Year Career. That's the symbol at 5-Year. Subscribe, give us some great reviews. We deserve it. And we will help you build a successful new construction business in 2025. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for my wonderful co-host and all your great information. Goodbye, everyone.